Yo, boys, welcome back to Star Spangled Gamblers. Today we are, Zubby, you're going to have to tell me if this is like not PC, but we are praising the Lord, passing the ammo, and playing Russian roulette with the Senate as it maybe, well, we're not supposed to call it gun control. We're supposed to call it gun safety, right? Yeah, we're going to talk about that. Then stick around. We're going to talk about this like Chuck Schumer China sucks bill that's been hung up in the Senate for a year to, I guess, make microchips so we can buy cars again. And then Joe Manchin, Kirsten Sinema, and Joe Biden are back. I don't know if they ever went away, but we need to talk about Build Back Better, budget reconciliation. These stories are moderately interesting if you're a normal person. They're very interesting if you're a political gambling degen. I think I just described you, right, Zubby?
Yeah, you did. That's me.
Full time now, right?
Full time. Living every day. Every day is different. It's awesome.
It's awesome. Well, let me build you up. Not everyone knows you by reputation. I always like to say I used to think I was like the, a big daddy of betting on Capitol Hill, but I think at this point there's no disputing the fact that you are the best handicapper of the U.S. Senate that is in the game. Will you accept that, Laurel, or are you going to be polite and refuse it?
I think I'll be polite and refuse it, but I do understand how the Senate works. I'll give myself that.
What is? It's a broad thing. That's like what a lobbyist says. Well, I understand the Senate. You just watch C-SPAN all day. Is that all it takes?
I read a lot of CRS reports. I don't even know what that stands for, but that's
Congressional Research Service, bro.
Yeah, there you go. I read a lot of those. Watch a lot of C-SPAN. Wait for Chuck Schumer to tell us what's going on.
That is the life. Okay, well, do you want to talk about gun control?
Yeah. So this is. Go ahead.
Let me tee it up. Okay. All right. So look, we all know why we're talking about guns again. Should I just say that our country's like full of psychopaths and they're well armed? So let me quote from Punchbowl this morning. So obviously we're betting on whether this is going to happen, but this is an important topic, whether or not you're betting. So this morning, Punchbowl, the OGs, quote, "For the first time since negotiations began last week in the wake of several horrific mass shootings, there are serious doubts that a deal can be reached by Senators Chris Murphy and John Cornyn, the lead Democratic and GOP negotiators on the package. Republicans insist Democrats must move in the direction on the so-called boyfriend loophole. There are also unresolved issues over the red flag provisions, although senators familiar with the matter believe those can still be closed out." Okay, real people talk. This is DC Insider saying that last week's press tour where Chris Murphy and John Cornyn gave each other a big Republican-Democrat hug and said, guess what, we're going to have a gun control bill. I'm sorry, gun safety. That's important, gun safety, for the first time in 30 years. And the story's over, play tape. But of course, inevitably, we've reached the point where the Senate says, maybe not. Did I get that right?
Yeah, pretty much. That's where we're standing right now.
Well, so what I was thinking, Zubby, is I would just ask you, like, I need to direct your energy. I was just going to ask you some like true or false questions about what's going on in the Senate, and then we can talk about how we're betting on it. Does that sound fair?
Perfect.
Okay, so first of all, true or false, it matters that it's being called gun safety and not gun control.
True.
Why?
Because the Republicans are led by mostly John Cornyn and Tom Tillis, I guess.
Right.
But John Cornyn is trying to make it clear in every statement that he gives that this is mostly a mental health safety bill. And that he's at the point where he's saying like these red flag laws, which are laws that say that if somebody has a mental illness, you can go to court and get their guns taken away temporarily. He's saying, well, we want that money to be like just given to the states to use for mental health if they don't want to do red flag laws. So
basically, like, here's the way I hear what you're saying is like gun control equals like hacky Democratic campaign term for don't rural Republicans suck. Gun safety equals hacky, pollster crafted Mitch McConnell term for this is not gun control. We are not taking guns from your cold, dead fingers. We're actually just going to temporarily take guns from your like very much alive, but maybe mentally unstable fingers.
Yeah, big focus on mental health, big focus on school safety, big focus on anything that's not. And they're making it very clear on all the stuff that they made sure wasn't in the deal that was gun control, like
Right.
raising the age for an AR-15 to 21. So yeah, gun safety. The fact that they're calling it gun safety is very important.
Right. I feel like that tells me that there's like some bipartisan buy-in, that they've invented a new stupid term to describe what they're doing.
Yes.
Okay, next true or false question. We quoted from Punchbowl up top. Politico said recently to quote, a bipartisan group of senators is taking longer than they hoped to settle the language of the gun safety bill, raising doubts about whether or not the chamber can pass the deal before the July 4th recess. So I'll interject here and remind you why July 4th is so important. If you are betting on this, which the two of us are, June 30th or July 1st, you'll have to remind me, is the deadline for predicted market to settle. So basically, we are all betting on whether or not this happens more or less by the 4th of July. And John Cornyn, the lead Republican on this, said, quote, we're not ready to release any smoke, so we don't have a deal yet. I'd say it's either fish or cut bait. So we are into the fourth quarter. So true or false, Subby? This has all been for nothing. The Senate is basically just going to shoot another blank on gun safety after 30 years of shooting blanks.
Yeah, so I'm going false. I am not like 100% certain on that. I think so. What we're seeing is a ton of public negotiation from Cornyn, Tillis, Murphy, and Kirsten Sinema. We're seeing like they are very publicly talking to the press. They're very publicly running into each other's offices. They're very publicly staying the weekend and continuing to negotiate. And they have the votes. Like they're very clearly saying those 10 Republicans, they're locked in, they're not moving. And then Mitch McConnell sort of, we can talk about this later. I know you're going to want to get into this.
Yeah, we do have, we've got a question in the script for this too. But so, okay, can I actually tell you, I have like a different reason to be faithful about this. Did you hear Chris Murphy on the Daily?
No, I didn't get the chance to listen yet, but
okay,
I know what he said.
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing to me. The salesmanship around gun safety or gun control is super telling. So on one hand, you've got the Republicans saying it's not a gun control bill, and we covered that. But Chris Murphy, who's the lead gun hardo for the Democrats, is what's he saying? He's saying, well, it doesn't matter what's in the bill. Like that's his whole sales pitch to the Democratic caucus and liberals is, it doesn't matter what's in the bill. The whole point is that we're going to prove that there's not an electoral stigma to gun control. And once we do that, we can be more ambitious in the future. So I feel like his standards and the standards of probably most Democrats, I think he sold them that like literally they'll accept anything. Like they just want a bill and they'll worry about the rest later, which tells me that like they'll fold and the Republicans will, go along with whatever piece of shit that, spits out of the sausage factory.
Yeah, so I would say both sides are highly incentivized to get a deal here. The Democrats are on we need to do something type of thing. We need to like literally do anything. We're going to call it gun control. We need to show that we're not just like complete like losers and can get something done. And they'll like that framing is perfect. That's how they'll set it up. And to be clear, with the recess coming up, I think it would look absolutely ridiculous for them to go home for 2 weeks being at like the finish line with that framing that they need to do something. The Republicans, I think, based on just the fact that they came to a deal, the fact that like Mitch McConnell mentioned like the polling on this the other day and how popular it was, I don't think they want this issue to be like even like remotely in the news, like not dominating the news. I think they want this to like resolve and then move on back on to like hammering Biden on inflation all the time instead of like 50% of the time. So I think both sides are highly incentivized to clear this off the decks before they go home for recess. Now it's a bunch of old people who don't really care about doing their jobs. Like maybe they just want to go home for 2 weeks.
Right.
But I think the incentives are very high And I think you're sort of just seeing like a final tug of war at the finish line. And I actually think the Democrats would, this boyfriend loophole thing, I think they would drop it to take the deal. If they need, or just
Right.
like give Cornyn whatever he wants.
Like, I feel like we're in a weird netherworld here where like policy doesn't really matter, which I think is actually how the Senate and the House usually operate. Like every single thing that happens in Congress has to fit between politics, like, you know, are there the votes and what are the consequences for the votes, and procedure, you know, like what are the different wickets that you have to get the croquet ball through, and then policy just like fills in the 10% of space in between the two.
Right.
Now, having said that, I'm looking at Predicted right now, and I mean, first of all, I guess it's a whip count market. So how many votes in the Senate for a gun control bill by June 30th? Okay, far and away the most expensive bet is to bet that there are 59 or fewer, which is basically a bet that this bill doesn't pass. So why are the two of us so completely at odds with the wisdom of the crowds here?
Yeah, I mean, the reporting momentum is against the two of us. There's a bunch of snags. That's what all the reporting's saying. And two, there's just a bias on that the Senate won't do anything.
That's a good bias, by the way.
Yeah, no, it is in general. But if this was like a 1 week recess, I would not be too confident, because I think, but like a 2 week recess is a very long time, and we'll get into this in a bit, but there's other stuff that they really need to do, or really are going to want to do when they come back in July. So like,
well, let me do you one better.
Yeah.
Who says it's going to be a 2 week recess?
Oh, exactly. We can get exactly. So it's like theoretically, there's 3 legislative days left. If they come to an agreement, like the threat to hold people into the weekend or bring them back the next week for like Tuesday and Wednesday or something, like it's like when you do something like that, someone like Rand Paul goes like, well, I just like want my amendment vote or something, and then we'll go home. Like,
so yeah, I think this is like couldn't be more clear. And then I can go back to asking you stupid questions about this. I think it could not be more clear. Mark my words, keen dog promise, hand to God. This bill is dead if it's not done by 4th of July. It is.
I agree.
Bury it in the fucking grave. It is dead, because when you send those Republican legislators back to their home states for a week or 2 weeks, and they're just getting hammered by the wingnut caucus, that, let's be honest, those are the people who pick primaries. Like, you give them a week to have that legislative text picked apart, like they are not coming back ready to vote for this bill. 100% dead if they go home.
Yeah, and I think publicly you'll start. So like Murphy and Cornyn are like the leaders on this. I think they'll just start going at each other if that happens. They'll just like, Murphy will say Cornyn didn't want a deal at all and just tanked it because his caucus didn't actually like it, and then Cornyn will say Murphy tried to make this like a liberal gun control bill, and it'll just tank. We saw something similar with like they agreed on like COVID funding or something, and then they couldn't figure out how to get like an amendment vote, and now that's just like totally gone. No one's ever talked about that again. So I agree. It's dead if it doesn't pass.
Okay, so let's talk about that. So I'll quote. I'll roll these into one. So let me quote The Hill, where Mitch McConnell said, presumably to a gallery full of microphones, quote, this is Mitch talking about himself. For myself, I'm comfortable with the framework, and if the legislation ends up reflecting what the framework indicates, I'll be supportive. So Mitch McConnell saying, I support this. Meanwhile, according to Politico, John Cornyn, Republican Texas, we've been talking about him a lot, said, quote, he's aiming for 70 plus senators to vote for the final packages. But conservatives in the GOP conference are already questioning parts of the framework, as well as the Senate's quick preferred, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so the people who are in the room are saying this is going to pass by a wide margin. The people who are out of the room say it might not pass at all. So are you like, I mean, I know what your betting strategy is. I know what my betting strategy is. Like, this tells me that buying cheap options for like anything from 61 to infinity is the way to bet on this. Am I like out of step with reality here?
No, this is the best type of market in that 59 or fewer will likely stay where it is or get more expensive, and then every other bracket will stay where it is or get cheaper. And we don't have to know whether it's 61 or 64 or 68. We can just buy them all and get a massive amount of upside. That's my betting strategy. If I don't know if you want to get into the individual senators on how they might vote.
Let's do it, but let me say this for people who are dumb like me, who aren't absolute degens. So we are the way we're betting on this is we're betting on how many votes the bill gets, and you can either spend 65 to 70 cents per share betting that it doesn't pass, or you can spend 3, 4, 5 cents to bet that there's 60 or 61 or 62, all the way up to 69 or more senators. So what Zubby and I are doing is we're just buying cheap shares of everything over the threshold of the bill passing, which adds up to like a 30-cent play. So we're looking to make 3 times our money just by buying cheap on the assumption that this will pass, and the farm animals on prediction have it wrong.
Absolutely right. Couldn't have said it better.
Okay, so what's your you and I talked about this a little bit before this, but like, what do you think the sweet spot is for this votes wise?
Yeah, I would guess 64 or 65. Granted, for our listeners, you should know that like you're gonna have to pay attention to any COVID or any family members getting sick from senators, because if one Democrat is out, then that's gonna be one less vote. So just a backdoor thing to keep an eye on. But I believe so. There are 10 Republican senators on this agreement. Just quickly, Blunt, Burr, Portman, Toomey, Cornyn, Tillis, Cassidy, Collins, Romney, Graham. So I don't think any of those, if this is going through, are going to back out. It's mostly people retiring, not up for re-election, and might not run for re-election, or Mitt Romney. Like that's the crew.
Right. This is like the vote your conscience group who are like, finally, we can just do what we want. We don't have to worry about our voters.
Right. Past that, it's a little trickier to find who the Republican senators are. I believe that if Cornyn comes to an agreement that he likes, Mitch McConnell will vote for this. I know you disagree. I don't know if you want to address that.
Yeah, I mean, I think when like the leader of any party says he'll support something, like the implication of that is that there'll be no punishment and members are free to vote their conscience, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to vote for it. Now I know that that's been reported differently by some people, but I would not personally count on that vote. But I'm definitely betting as if it's going to be there.
Yeah, I'm betting as if it's going to be there. Murkowski is in Alaska, very gun-friendly state, but she's only said positive things, and I would count her as
she's up this year, though.
Yeah, she is.
What's going on with that? Does she still have a psychotic primary, or is she free to vote her conscience?
Yeah, she has a very psychotic primary.
So she's not voting for this.
Well, that's what I thought with the Supreme Court, and then she just went ahead and did it. I will take her at what she says for now. And then past that, you're looking at a lot of either senators running for president or senators in very rural states. So if you compare this to the infrastructure bill, both senators in Idaho voted for that. Right. Neither one of them are going, it's just not going to happen.
I wouldn't be surprised if you saw a Jim Risch or a Mike Crapo come in on this, though.
I would be surprised.
But Jim Risch is a semi-responsible senator at this point. He's the chairman of the ranking member on foreign affairs, right?
Yeah, he is. But the Second Amendment is their probably biggest issue. So you're looking I don't know who the other senators would be. Just to give our listeners my guess is that you get 5 more Republican senators, and they're Mitch McConnell, Lisa Murkowski, Chuck Grassley, Todd Young, and Shelley Moore Capito. That's my guess right now. I could see 3 less than that. I could see 3 more. I think getting to B max, while I was actually buying that pretty heavily to begin with, and I'll take the 2-cent shares just because why not? But I think there are too many. You're looking at too many rural states, and then you're kind of like pivoting to, well, like Rick Scott and Marco Rubio supported this in Florida, but Rick Scott's running ads nationally right now because he thinks he's going to be president. I would be very surprised by that.
Yeah, I think the sweet spot here is I can come up with formulations for why all of these people will vote for it and why they won't. I think that maybe we'll see 1 or 2 surprises beyond the 10 names that we have. I'm pretty skeptical that we're going to see like 5 or 6. But I do expect to be surprised, and I do expect the bill to pass. So I think, opportunistically buying cheap shares. I will admit to you, Zubby, I think I got a little too excited yesterday. I think I bought some brackets that were a little bit too high. It's not a problem. Those are basically free trades. So I'll get out of them. But I think like my heaviest buy is at 62 and 61. That's where most of my position is down there in the kind of low 60s.
Yeah, I'm at 64 and 65, but I understand that completely.
Okay, so we will, Zoltar likes to say, sometimes we look like idiots. I think maybe in a week or 2 we're going to look like idiot savants on this play, but we might look like idiots. All right, do you want to move on to I feel like we need to go. I like to call the Senate an airport. Like I feel like we need to check in with the air traffic controllers on some other stuff that
let's do it.
All right, okay. So it's only June, but it's an election year. So we're already thinking about the year like it's over, because basically it's over in August. Everyone goes home, they dick around with their constituents, they kiss babies, eat weird shit at the state fair, and like that's that. So we need to talk about one, Chuck Schumer's fuck you China bill, which I think they're calling USICA now. And we need to talk about end of the year budget shit. And believe it or not, all these things influence each other. So I'm thinking let's start with China, because everyone in America likes being scared of China. And everyone in America likes dunking on China. That feels right, right?
Yes.
Okay. So how to begin? Okay, I'll just put this to you as like a would you rather question. So for like the last year, we've been sold that there's this huge bipartisan fuck you China bill. Also, let's make some more semiconductors so people can have cars again bill. And it's rumored to be like 3,000 pages when you merge the House and Senate version. And it's been in conference committee, which is sort of like a Byzantine thing of sort of reconciling differences. But it's officially like way the fuck behind. And yeah. I've been saying, this is a lock. It's going to pass. Bet on Kalshi. But at this point, we have to make a judgment call, which is, would you rather bet on this bill passing kind of based on momentum alone? Like, Congress is a year invested in this. Like, they're just going to figure out how to get it passed. Or at this point where we're really down to the last few legislative weeks and there's a lot of other shit in the mix, like, would you rather bet on it not passing based on kind of lack of momentum, like inertia alone? Like, what's the play here, bro?
Yeah, I would rather bet on it not passing. There are a couple of reasons for that. The one is just like it's getting very late in the year, and clearly the House Democrats weren't willing to take what the Senate Democrats wanted. You're looking at a negotiation between the House Democrats and the Senate Republicans, and those are two very different forces. They're talking about narrowing out a lot of provisions. They're talking about, but like all of a sudden you'll hear a story just being like, oh, the House Democrats want to put like immigration provisions in this thing.
Dude, it's fucking high school at this point.
Yeah,
it's high school. Like the Democrats have the one over on the Republicans, and I think the Republicans are like, fuck you, we're about to win this election, we'll write whatever bill we want. So I think this is dead. It's over. It's time to
Yeah.
sell.
Yeah. So I agree with that. And you can get a pretty good price on Kalshi for it not passing by election day. I haven't looked in a while. I would assume it's at like 30 or something.
Yeah. It's I think it's like in the high 60s to bet that it will pass, but it's well, let me tell you another reason why I think it's done is that once Congress realizes it's done, I think they'll be able to just stick a bunch of extra money in the end of the year continuing resolution to do some of this shit anyway. And then the Republicans will pick up their pens and paper and write their version of the bill, in 2023.
Right. Exactly. I agree with that. And the other reason I think it's done, which kind of pivots to the other topic we will talk about shortly, is that there's new reporting, and I am taking it somewhat seriously, that the Democrats are prepping for reconciliation part 2, electric bungalow or whatever. And that like Schumer and Pelosi are negotiating with Manchin, and they're going over line by line details, and it sounds like momentum is happening. Whether this thing passes or not, this is about to be a story. I think we could say that.
Okay, so we're officially hanging the done chain on USICA. So sell while you can, and if you've got some sterling cojones, maybe bet on it not passing. Done chain has been hung. Game over. Sorry. Thanks for playing, Chuck Schumer. Now we're talking about budget reconciliation. And well, can you remind people what budget reconciliation is?
Yeah, so this is Build Back Better. Budget reconciliation is an arcane Senate process that allows you to pass something with 50 votes, as long as if it doesn't raise the budget by X dollars.
It's sort of like the poster child for like abusive Senate procedures, because the whole point of it was to like make it easier to cut spending. But like over the years, the sort of works in the parliamentarian's office and the various leadership offices have figured out how to use it as a way to like increase spending. So I guess it's like now it's just every Congress, every party gets like one free shot at the end zone through budget reconciliation. And the Democrats are still trying to figure out how to use theirs. So here we are. Does that sound right?
Yeah. So I would just say, because they're doing this seriously, there's no way the Republicans are going to let them do this and then be like, okay, we're solving your China bill problem. But so that's another reason why I think USICA is dead. But yeah, reconciliation's back. Build Back Better is back. It's going to be a different bill than the thing we were talking about last year. It's allegedly going to cut the deficit. We'll see. But that is back in play.
Okay, so I'm going to quote someone else for the bear case on this, which has been my position for the last year, and this is random Politico story number 374,000. Quote, there's plenty of skepticism to go around regarding Democrats' prospects for success. One Democrat who regularly talks to Manchin doubted whether any party line bill checking his boxes. Wait, what does this mean? One Democrat who regularly talks to Manchin doubted whether any party line bill checking his boxes is achievable at this point, citing the mismatch between Senator Kyrsten Sinema and Manchin's tax positions. The Arizona Democrat prefers surtaxes on the wealthy and big corporations, not the tax rate increases that Manchin likes. So this is what I'm curious about is, well, actually, you know what? Can we kill, fuck, marry this bill?
Sure.
Okay, let's kill, fuck. You remember how to play that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. All right, I'm winging it here. So if this doesn't work, don't cancel me. Just send me a strongly worded letter. Okay, so kill, fuck, marry, Build Back Better 3.0. Explanations of what's going on. This is actually about passing a reconciliation bill. That would be one option. This is really about extending Obamacare health insurance subsidies. We haven't talked about that yet, but that's in the mix too. And then explanation number 3, this is about Joe Manchin jamming Kyrsten Sinema. Basically, he's tired of being the bad guy, so he's going to propose a bill that he knows she'll kill. What do you think the big story here is?
Yeah, I think you got it with the Obamacare subsidies. So right before the election, everyone on Obamacare, their premiums are about to go up like a lot. And if you're the Democrats or the party of healthcare, you really, really, really don't want that to happen, or else you're looking at like losing like maybe losing like Colorado Senate or something like that. So I think that is the biggest factor involved with reconciliation. So I would marry that one.
Yeah. Would you kill that this is like really Joe Manchin trying to put Kirsten Sinema on the hot seat, or are you married to the idea that like the Senate really is going to pass a big spending bill?
Yeah, I would kill the cinema thing just because I think Manchin just kind of, I would doubt he's thinking about her. I think he is just gonna agree to what he believes in and get this out of the way. And I would jump
Why?
in.
That's very out of character for her to agree with what someone wants.
Oh yeah, no, this is a massive problem for the bill itself. I don't think jamming cinema will work. So whatever roundabout funding thing that they're going to come up with is going to be like the most like inside Washington like crap like that we've ever seen, if they can achieve that at all. They might not be, it might not be solvable.
But I mean, that's just like, that feels like exactly the bullshit that gets Kirsten Sinema fired up, is like, like whether she feels this way or not, you just get the idea that when she wakes up in the morning and looks in the mirror, she sees John McCain, but like cooler with gay marriage and like, with a better sense of fashion or something like that, kind of Arizona mavericky type thing. And it seems weird to me that she would like, just suddenly like fold on this, because
Yeah, I agree with you. I think when Kirsten Sinema wakes up, she like tells herself, I mean, it was somewhat correctly, that she's responsible for almost everything major passing during this Congress, including the gun control bill, by the way. She would probably give herself full credit for that.
Right.
So yeah, she is not the type to fold here. So then it becomes whether, like, I don't think Manchin disagrees with the weird corporate minimum tax thing that she wants or anything, but it becomes whether, like, if you're gonna reduce the deficit, then like that stuff's gonna have to be like, either there's gonna be nothing in this, which isn't true, or that stuff's gonna have to be raising like double the revenue that the spending of the bill is. So like that can't really be fake. The easiest way to do that is just raise tax rates. If you're not doing that, then I like, again, this isn't like my specialty, but like there has to be something real. Like it can't just be fake calculus crap.
So, okay. So I like to take the Jeff Bezos approach to this stuff, which is like, leadership principle number one, which is like, be obsessed with the customer. And I'm viewing Joe Manchin and Kirsten Sinema as the customer here. And I just don't understand what they want. Like at this point, I don't understand, like, does Joe Manchin want coal subsidies for West Virginia? Like, is that what he wants? Or he wants renewable energy money to be spent there? Or like, I don't understand what he wants, which is why I just sort of fall back on him, writing a bill that he knows that Sinema will kill. Or maybe it's about health insurance subsidies that may or may not got rolled into it, but then like the Senate parliamentarian becomes an issue. Like, I don't get it. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I think this is very tough to follow because we're only just hearing like the Washington reporting on this, which is like these three people met in a room, not that like here's what Joe Manchin wants, here's what Schumer agreed to. It's still pretty unclear at this time.
Are you betting on it?
So I do have some cheap shares that reconciliation passes by I think end of September on Predict It. And because a idiot and a glutton for punishment, I am back in on the Kamala Harris ties market, which would, if reconciliation did happen, a lot of ties would be in play there. So I have some very cheap shares on the 20 or more bracket there.
Um, you know what's funny about this?
No,
Aren't you like a New York City, New York City Democrat?
sure.
Uh, it's like exactly the same situation that has been with this bill this entire time. Like if you've read the polling of staffers and lobbyists and stuff, that the Democratic staffers and lobbyists have said like 95% chance that Build Back Better passes, and the Republican staffers and lobbyists have been saying 95% chance it doesn't pass. And like, here we are, we've got the righty and like the lefty, and we're kind of, just a little like seeing it just a little bit differently.
No, we are. I should say, for timing purposes, if they so beginning of August, they go on a really long recess. If this doesn't happen before then, not even like a deal, if this thing doesn't like pass the Senate before then, there's no shot. There's no way.
I think it's worth also talking about those health insurance subsidies, because to me, it like gets at the difference of Manchin and Sinema's character. And this is something that I might be completely wrong about. Like this is like the type of reach that gets you in trouble betting, because at the end of the day, like what substance do you have to hang it on? Like to me, Joe Manchin is just like a classic old school, old school, sort of Southern sort of blue collar Politico, where like he probably sees an opportunity to just take money to subsidize, health insurance for people in West Virginia who tend to be poor. Whereas like Kyrsten Sinema seems like she's in a different mold, where she would just be like, we temporarily suspended premium increases on Obamacare because of a pandemic. Like that she would like stand on the principle of like, why are we permanently extending a temporary program? Like that feels like a very Kyrsten Sinema thing to do.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. The other thing is, I don't think Kyrsten Sinema cares about the deficit. And I think one of the big, as like crazy as it sounds for a Democrat or any politician, I think the big headline here is Joe Manchin wants to pass a bill that he says is decreasing the deficit,
right?
Which is a big thing for him, I guess, if he's running for re-election and he wants to say that.
Well, then maybe you just found it. Like, I said I was struggling to figure out what everyone wanted out of this, and maybe that's what Joe Manchin wants. Is he wants, those clippings for his, attempt to run for re-election in a Trump plus 39 state.
Right.
It'll be interesting. I mean, it's so like what he wants is so uniquely crafted to appeal to no one. I mean, he wants a reconciliation bill that basically like raises taxes without, letting government spend money. So like, what the hell does a Democrat want with that? And, he wants to raise taxes, which is going to get 0 Republican votes. So, he's figured out a way to be the least popular person at the dance and use that to his advantage, it seems.
Yeah, but the Pod Save America Democrat establishment types, if we get to a point where they're voting on this bill, they will cheer this on every step of the way, despite no one liking this. You'll get a lot of like, well, they finally got something done, and just like, this is why we need to keep Democrats in charge or something.
Boy, what a bunch of idiots, by the way. Like, we could sit here and talk about how idiotic the Biden White House has been about a lot of things, but arguably their biggest mistake, I think, is that they got $4 trillion of money from Congress to do basically whatever they want with. And instead of like making a big deal about that and taking credit, they've just been asking for more money that Congress doesn't want to give them. I mean, it's like they turned a huge win into like 2 losses. It's mind-boggling to me.
Yeah, no, it is. They keep saying like, no, we can't pay for stuff with this leftover money we had. It doesn't make any sense at all. Just complete incompetence. Biden approval is tanking, which it should, and red wave is coming, folks.
Did you see he had an interview in the AP, like the AP published an interview with him this morning? You haven't had a chance to see that yet, have you?
No, I have not.
Like this dude is just like so obsessed with being everything, and like he just comes off as kind of being about nothing. I mean, it's like this weird rambling interview where he talks about like insulin, but also deficit reduction, and also like other foreign leaders who have inflation problem. Like I don't know what you would possibly take away from reading it. Like it's like he just needs to pick one thing and just do that.
Yeah, I just, my takeaway is that the Democrats are not currently governable,
Right.
are capable of governing in their current form. There are too many.
Yeah.
There are people who just want to win politically, and like do the popular thing, and then there's too many people who viewed this as like a once in 15-year
Yeah.
opportunity to get everything done. And I just think it's not. And then you have Biden, who clearly isn't as sharp as he needs to be, who just, like you said, just kind of says all these things where it's just like, we need to reduce the deficit, but everyone should go get an electric car.
Yeah.
It's just, it's not, they'll, like, politics always changes. They'll change, the Republicans will change, but currently
Right.
this doesn't make any sense.
That's like the most healthy attitude to have. Like I feel like so many people get angry and frustrated by politics because they like don't take the step of taking a deep breath and like looking at the long continuum of things that have happened before and things that will change soon. And like when you do that, you just realize that like so much of this stuff is just like stupid, and you're just consuming too much information, and it'll all net out and be okay at the end of the day.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. On one hand, it is concerning that like people are like lighting cities on fire and like storming
Yeah.
the Capitol and trying to like overturn the election and all that.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, like people, my like least favorite thing is people are like, well, we need to like change the Senate, when
Yeah.
like 10 years ago or whatever, like there were Dem senators and
Super
both,
majority.
yeah, and
Yeah.
super majority, both in North Dakota, both in my, like, it's like
Kent
you have,
Conrad,
yeah,
like Blanche
like
Lincoln.
it's just like you have no idea what's gonna happen. Like that, like that's why the House exists, for like literally that reason. And like it's just like you
Well,
just kinda,
yeah, I mean, like, look, you said it. I don't really want to step on your point, but I'm very passionate about this issue too. I mean, if you look at the places where, what's the thing they say is that cities are underrepresented. California should have 15 senators and New York should have 20 or something like that. But like, why are Democrats winning in places like Arizona and Colorado and Nevada where they weren't even competitive 10, 15 years ago? It's because those
yeah.
people are moving there, like you're just watching the machine balance itself in real time. So just like take a
Yeah,
break.
like, or the electoral college is biased. Like if Texas, the second Texas flipped, then that
Yeah.
would just go the other way. Like it
Right.
would just be like totally just like, well, the electoral college is now biased for
Yeah.
Democrats.
Yeah. All right. Well, two Senate evangelists here, two institutionalists, the Zubby Badger, the Keen Dog. I hope we wind up looking smart because we either just made a ton of money for our listeners or we just lost a shitload. Really could go either
Yeah,
way.
yeah, it would be good for our listeners. It would be, honestly, it would be great for me personally if we were right,
Yeah.
because then I would do very well, which is
Yeah.
most important. So
Well, it
yeah.
sounds like our incentives are aligned. Well, Zubby, thanks for joining as always, and we'll see you soon.
All right, thanks, man. Appreciate
Thanks,
it.
man.